and she was like, hey, like, I want to invite you. I'm playing a show in Vegas this Friday. Like, if you want to be there. And I was like, this is not real. Okay, like, this is a joke. I'm gonna wake up and this is all gonna be fake. I'm dreaming of this. I'm an overthinker myself, right? I'm like, I come up with 8 different outcomes every single time, and I'm like, why do I keep doing that? And so I listened to the song, and he's singing about this girl who isn't coming back, and she's like moved away, and it sounds like there's other issues. And I was like, what if she is coming back and he's just playing in his mind? Like, what if she's just out at the grocery store and he's like, she's gone, like she's never coming back? And I am a passionate lover of animals. I mean, I've had dogs growing up my entire life. But there's something that breaks my heart is when I see these animals in the shelters, because they are our best friends.
All right, welcome to another episode of In the Chair. Today we are in the chair with Presley Tennant. She is a California, Nashville-based singer-songwriter who has a new single called Let Lying Dogs Sleep, which I can't wait to hear a little bit more about. Presley, thank you for taking time out to visit with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Uh, this is great. Are you now in California or in Tennessee?
So I am still in California. I just got back from Tucson, Arizona yesterday. We were playing a show out there. And so I'll be back in town for a little bit, and then I'll be making my way back out to Nashville, I think next week.
Okay.
Gotta be driving this time. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm excited yet. It's supposed to be like 35 hours. And I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. So
Wow.
it's gonna be a fun road trip though. Lots of road trip snacks. Gonna be listening to a lot of new music, and hopefully there's some stuff that'll come out of it.
That is an epic road trip. I love road trips, so that sounds awesome to me.
I was like, I do believe I could be in a car. Like if I wanted to be a truck driver, I love driving. I don't know why. I feel the most at peace. I can turn on this. I'm gonna just expose myself. Like I turn on a bunch of musical theater songs because I'm a theater kid at heart, and I sing my face off. And I'm like, my mom's coming with me, so she may be really annoyed really quick, but it'll make the time go by faster, I think.
Oh, that's great. So a little bit, I guess, to start the interview, talking just kind of about you and your background. There's a phrase in your bio that I don't know if it was coined by you or a publicist, but it says "rodeos to Rodeo Drive." Can you kind of talk about that and just kind of how you started playing music and kind of have this not dual personality, but you have these different aspects of kind of LA, kind of country. Like how did that all develop?
So I am born and raised in a small little horse town called Norco, California. Like we're known as Horsetown, USA. We have horse trails instead of sidewalks. You go to Starbucks or like a Taco Bell, there's probably a horse in front of you in the drive-through. So that's what I always grew up around me. But I've been in the music industry from a very young age. From 10 years old, I was in a girl group. So I was up in LA 5 days a week, rehearsing, recording, performing, everything. And that's what really got my start into the music industry. And I fell in love with it so fast. And I knew at that moment, this is what I want to do. Made my parents homeschool me, and they were like, girl, like, are you sure you want to do this music thing? And I said, absolutely. But I don't know. I have always kind of, there's something about, I mean, the girl group that I was in was a pop Christian girl group. And so it definitely was like a different aspect. But coming and being born and raised from Norco, I've always been surrounded by country music. And the one thing that really drew me into country music was the storytelling, and that it's music for real people, and that it's whether you're just going to work, or whether you lost somebody, or you're going through a breakup, or like you're meeting someone, there's a song for everything about that. And that's something that has always drew me into country music, as well as just like the way that the structure is and like the sounds and the instruments. I was like, I fell in love with it. Now today I feel like there's so much crossover within country music that it kind of hits every genre that I would want to be doing also. It's so, I don't know. The rodeo to rodeo drive though, I feel like fits very well within like what I wear on like a typical day. I'm like, I still like the look of like where it's still very Western elements, but then kind of like more of like an upscale kind of vibe. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it really. I'm like, that's just me. I don't, some people get it. And then other times they're like, what is that? And I'm like, it makes me happy. So I'm going to do that.
Oh, that's funny. I grew up in a really small town in West Texas, and a lot of ranching and farming and stuff like that. And so I'm just thinking, like on prom night, the girls especially, would come up in beautiful dresses, but they're getting out of their ranch trucks that are all just muddy and dirty and everything. But trying to live both lives because it's your life. It's your one life. No, that's great. Your songwriting. Okay, so the new single "Let Lying Dogs Sleep," and then one of the other singles I listened to just this morning was "Heaven Sent and Hellbound." These songs have attitude. I mean, they've got stuff to say. Like these aren't love songs and just whatever. You have a lot to say. It sounds like. What kind of inspires your songwriting? Whether it's solo songwriting or collaborating or whatever. What do you infuse into your songs?
So I noticed for myself, a lot of the songs that I write are from personal experience where I've gone through and I've lived it. But then also there's so many different instances, like with Let Lying Dogs Sleep. It was kind of one of those things. I didn't bring the idea into the write, and I wrote it with Mr. Trey Bruce, but I walked in and he was like, "Hey, like I have this title, like let me know if you like this." And so he said it, and I was like, "That's really cool," because I mean, you have the phrase "Let sleeping dogs lie," but now you're switching it to a relationship standpoint. But then also it kind of took me back in time where I remember growing up and like all of like my mom's friends would come over and like I would hear them all talking about like their dating lives and what they've gone through. And then even like hearing on my friends and what they've gone through. And I knew at that moment, as soon as I heard it, it kind of just took me back there. And I was like, this is a song that I know a lot of people can relate to. Because, sometimes it's like, let line dogs sleep. It's like, you know better. Just let them be and move on with your life. It's a little more peaceful. But then also it's like with Heaven Sent and Hellbound, I remember I think I wrote that one. That one I wrote by myself. That was one of the first ones. I've always co-written for the most part, or I've written songs by myself, but it was like I was 16. I would say like 13 to 16, 17. And I was like, boys have cooties. I just don't want to go back to school. Like there wasn't much life to be lived then for myself. And so I was like, oh yeah, like you write off of personal experiences. And I look back and I'm like, these were the dumbest songs I have ever written. But Heaven Sent Hellbound was the one that made it through the cracks. And I'm really glad about that one. That's probably one of my favorite songs to perform, especially live band aspect. Like the rest of my guys in my band, they just wail on it. And it is the most cool thing ever. But I've also taken a lot of inspiration. Like I love a gritty kind of in your face kind of thing, which it's funny because I feel like a lot of people hear it and they see me off stage or they afterwards or something. They're like, that is not what I expected from you. And I was like, well, I'm a little rough around the edges. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm like, I like being like super put together and things like that. But then also it's like, I want a song that I can wail. I want something with a little bit of attitude. Cause to me, it's like I get to pull it out and I'm like, yeah, this is me. Like you like it or you don't, and that's fine. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways of inspiration that my music has come from.
That's cool. I've mostly played rock and roll my whole life, but for a while, for a couple of years, I was drumming for a solo female country artist, and she had a song called "She's a Beauty," and she wrote it because a record exec kind of challenged her on something, and she spoke her opinion, and he said, "Well, aren't you a real beaut?" Like really talked down to her. And she infused in this song just sort of her FU response to him. And it was just her band were all guys about my age or whatever, and we loved doing that song. I mean, we could just it had a nasty guitar solo and just uh yeah, I can totally see, it's as a musician playing other people's songs, it's fun when somebody puts that into their song, you feel it, even as a session musician or just playing, not having been part of the writing. I love it.
Thank you.
Um, this is one of the things I wanted to ask you about. You've probably talked about it a million times, but I saw that you got to sing Because of You with Kelly Clarkson on your 17th birthday or when you were 17?
Yeah, it was my 17th birthday, and we adjusted the finale of The Voice I think 3 days prior. And I'm born and raised in California, and so Vegas is not too far. And I remember we came off, I was singing Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks with three other ladies. And as soon as we finished up, they went to commercial break. So I started walking down and I saw Kelly. And so she came up and she was like, "Hey, like, I want to invite you. I'm playing a show in Vegas this Friday. Like, if you want to be there." And I was like, this is not real. Okay, like this is a joke. I'm gonna wake up and this is all gonna be fake. I'm dreaming of this. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I ended up getting a text from her the next day, and I was like, oh, so this is real. Like I wasn't dreaming, but it was kind of just this full circle moment because I remember growing up, she was my first ever concert. I used to sing that song Because of You at every single talent show, audition thing. I'm pretty sure there's videos of it on YouTube from years ago. Like that was well, really, I say this so many times, and she doesn't realize, I know for a fact, but it's like she's part of the reason why I started into music. And so for this to happen, and it was like my 17th birthday, and I'm like, she brought me out a birthday cake and sang me happy birthday on stage. And I was like, this is not real. She's my idol that I've looked up to for so long. And like now I'm friends with her and I get to sing with her. And I'm like, it was the craziest experience. And ever since then, I've been trying to top my 17th birthday, but I'm afraid my 17th birthday was the peak and it won't happen anymore. But the best 17th birthday anyone could ever have. I think the best birthday in general. It was really special. And I don't know, I'm just really thankful for that moment.
That's incredible. I mean, it gives you something to always strive for. Like, I want to have a birthday better than that. So, it gives you goals. I mean, so Kelly Clarkson is from Burleson, Texas, which is, outside of DFW. And now it's kind of getting bigger because, the cities expand or whatever. But it was a nothing town when she was discovered. I imagine that she saw you and read your story and saw some of herself in you. Um, I just think it's cool that that gives you someone successful that has come from, you're cut from the same cloth, I guess. Uh,
It was a crazy moment because I also remember like growing up and watching like American Idol is what got me into music, like why I loved singing.
wow.
And so I had we had like the PS2 or whatever. And so I think every American Idol game. I would sing also Breakaway by her because that was like one of my favorite songs to sing. I would get three S's all the time. And I was like, I don't know why I got three S's on the video game, but I was like, maybe there's something behind it. And I don't know, it's just never once in a million years would I think that this is where my life would be. I thought I was going to be playing soccer. That's what I grew up. My family all played. Thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to college, play on a collegiate level, and then try to be on like the U.S. women's team. And then all of a sudden, music came in, and I was like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing. Like, I love this, and I don't know. I'm just very grateful, very fortunate, and I love the journey. It's been so much fun.
Uh, that's super cool. Yeah, I'm just going to soak that in a second. What a great story. I want to ask you one more about sort of not a brush with greatness, but one more question to you about somebody else, and then I want to get back to you and your songs and what you're up to. You have a cover of, not a cover, an interpretation of Zach Bryan's "Something in the Orange" that you kind of rewrote and made a perspective things. It reminds me of um, when TLC released No Scrubs. There was a male version, and it wasn't nearly as popular because TLC rocks. But uh, what made you do that? And that video it's gotten like almost 200,000 views on YouTube. And it was a few years ago. But is that something that you have new fans come up at shows and like, oh, I heard this? And then my underlying question is, as your popularity has risen, uh, is there any chance of there being a duet?
Oh, hold on. Okay, so I remember I was flying home from Nashville, and I've spent a lot of time out there. I'm kind of split time at this point for the past 2.5 years, where I've been out there once a month. But I remember there was this big hype around Zach Bryan and his new American Heartbreak album because I had like 35 songs on there, and I was like, perfect. I'm about to get on a flight. I downloaded the entire thing so I can listen to it, and I think I listened to the album top to bottom. And there was still something, and I'd heard little sneak peeks of the song on TikTok and whatnot as it was floating around. but there was something so special about Something in the Orange to me that it was just kind of like, I'm an overthinker myself, right? I'm like, I come up with eight different outcomes every single time. And I'm like, why do I keep doing that? And so I listened to the song and he's singing about this girl who isn't coming back and she's like moved away. And it sounds like there's other issues. And I was like, what if she is coming back and he's just playing in his mind? Like, what if she's just out at the grocery store and he's like, she's gone, like she's never coming back. And so I kind of took it and I didn't really, it's funny because I feel like I didn't really rewrite it. Like everyone was like, I just put it as like the female perspective. Hey, she is coming back. She does feel the same way. Stop overthinking it. And I rewrote the chorus in a way and I posted it to TikTok and it blew up out of nowhere. And then at one point everyone was kind of asking for like a full version of the song. And I was like, okay, like I'll give it a shot. I mean, the worst thing that's gonna happen is that no one listens to it. And so I did it real quick, just try to like rewrite the perspective of it. And that blew up. And so I put it out to like social or streaming platforms and like YouTube. And that opened a lot of doors. A lot of people, like whenever I play shows, they have always asked me to do like Something in the Orange. And it's kind of one of those songs that because there's been so many more songs that I put out since then, we kind of forget about it a little bit sometimes until I'm like, oh my God, like we should play this one again until it like resurfaces. And but there's a lot of people that come up and said that like they had found my music through that cover, which I think is really cool because that's opened up a lot of doors. I mean, People Magazine did like a whole article about it, and I was like, this is really weird. Like I remember growing up and looking at the magazines in person, and so I'm like, why do you want me on it? Yeah, I don't know. It was a very special moment. I would love to do a collaboration with Zach Bryan at some point. Like he is awesome. And but I remember he like reposted it to like his Instagram and everyone was like tagging me in it. And I was like, this is so weird. I think that was like the first time I've gotten like a someone like recognized in that way where it was just like someone reposted something and I was like, this is really cool. So hopefully in the future there'd be some sort of collaboration, but yeah.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, I talked to a lot of sort of indie bands and indie artists or whatever, and I mean, right now there's something like 500,000 songs a day uploaded to Spotify. I mean, there's just so much out there. It's so hard to do anything to get yourself seen. So the value of just doing a cover song is helpful, but to put your own spin on it, I mean, I don't think you sat down and said, "Gosh, how can I do a thing that'll get a lot of attention?" You
It
didn't.
was it was one of those things. I just came back. I think I that night I came home and I was like, what if I just like did it? And so I posted it to TikTok. I like practiced it because I didn't know how to play guitar. And I came up with like a decent amount of sounding guitar. Wow, I can't talk right now. Oh my gosh. A stroke chords and then it blew up and I was like, I guess I gotta give the people what they want. And so I went over to like my guitarist's house and I was like, can you just record this? I recorded it on my garage band app on my computer, did a little vocal. I think I just threw some reverb on it and like fixed the EQ. I watched a video on like how to mix and master for dummies because I had no idea what I was doing. But I was like, I need to get this out ASAP. Like, this is the moment that's going to change. Not everything changed, but a lot of things changed from it. And yeah, so I put it out and I was like, well, this is the best it's going to get. And people seem to like it, which I was like, all right, I'm not mad about this.
That's funny. To go back a few decades, I guess. I really like the band Extreme, and their guitarist Nuno Bettencourt is kind of a phenom or whatever. But one of their singles, Wholehearted, it's a 12-string acoustically driven song, and he got the idea for it. And when the idea hits, it hits. So he went into his bathroom because bathrooms have good acoustics, and recorded it really quick. And he said, later they decided to record it and put it on the album. So they were in the most, like expensive studio with great guitars and mics, and he couldn't ever capture the sound. So they used the recording he did in his bathroom on their album. And that's just so bizarre. It's like when you capture magic, you capture magic.
Like, I feel like so many people place so much. I think I don't even know the right word, but I'm just gonna say like importance behind like, oh, you need to be in this studio, you need to be doing this. And it's like, no, you don't. You could be inside your bathroom, you could be in a closet, you could be in a little room, you could even be outside. Maybe you want like a little like the nature kind of sound around you. It's like there's almost no excuses anymore. Like everything is right at your fingertips and you're able to do everything right in front of you, which I think is so cool. Especially as an independent artist, it's like we have utilities and we're able to utilize and use these different resources that are right here in front of us, which is I think the only thing that may limit someone is just like the knowledge of how to do it. But other than that, you can find people around you that will help you out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a DIY world. It doesn't mean that's always the best way to do it, but you can do it and then maybe improve or maybe not. Maybe that's the best. Uh, Getting to more, I guess, about you. There was a mention of the Riffs and Rescues charity tour that you were a part of. Was this a tour you were a part of, or were you headlining? And tell us about Riffs and Rescues.
So Riffs and Rescues is something that I started back in, I want to say during COVID or right before COVID. So 2020. And I am a passionate lover of animals. I mean, I've had dogs growing up my entire life. But there's something that breaks my heart is when I see these animals in the shelters because they are our best friends. They do so much for us and they deserve a forever loving home. And I feel like we got to be the voices for them because they do so much for us. And there's a lot of times where like I'll work with certain shelters or organizations and rescues, and a lot of it just kind of comes down to funding for the actual shelters because it's volunteers giving their time. And then some animals need veterinary services and things like that. Or say if there's a family in need that they can't afford, if there's medical bills, they can't afford it. And so it's cheaper just to put the animal down, which breaks my heart. I've been teaming up with these shelters and organizations and rescues to help kind of give awareness and hopefully people will donate. During COVID, a lot of the time that I would do a live stream and I would talk about the organization and people would be able to donate directly to the live stream that would go directly to the organization. And so it would kind of help with different bills and different things that they would be going through to help give these animals a better life. And like I don't know, it's just something that I have always been very passionate about and that I want to keep that going. It's been a little bit because I've been on the road a lot, but usually when I'm on the road I'm able to stop and go to these different shelters and now in person and get to see and get to meet all the volunteers that help take care of these animals and that have spent time out of their personal lives to go do this. I think it's amazing what they do, and if there's any way I can help at all, I would love to.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's so, um, none of us have endless amounts of money, and musicians are a community that usually don't have enough money to even get the recordings done and all that kind of stuff. But if you're doing shows and doing all this stuff, it's not that hard to do a 5% or a 10% cut and give it to someone else who needs it more. I think that's incredible. And it raises awareness, or even artists who even open up and have um, let a nonprofit have a booth. Just something. It's so easy. As long as you're gathering people, it doesn't take away from the show or take away from, your bottom line if you open the doors for that. I think that's great. And especially, I'll just say you as a younger artist, even though now you've been performing for like 15 years. No, it's great to see not just a famous person who's 50, like, oh, I'll write a check. It's wonderful that you're doing that. I think that's good. And you can't do it all the time, and that's okay too. But when the opportunity presents itself.
It's been really special and I've gotten to meet a lot of incredible people. And I don't know, I feel like these animals that I've met, a lot of them have found their forever homes and that they come in and they I don't know, it just makes me happy. Like whether it's dogs, cats, I mean, I live in a horse town. We got horses out here. There was goats. I got to see all of them. They were the cutest little things ever. Oh my gosh. But in any way that I can help, I think that is the biggest thing for me. Whether it's just getting their name out there, whether it's helping with donations and things like that of some sort, or just helping finding these animals the forever homes. That makes me happy.
That's awesome. Uh, I have 5 questions I like to ask a lot of people, so I'll jump into that real quick. Uh, we can just do sort of shortish answers. Um, and then most of it is for my own curiosity. If When you want to go hear music, you're like, I'm ready to hear music. What platform do you listen to? Is that usually a record, or is it headphones and it's Spotify or whatever? But how do you typically listen to music?
So I will say a lot of it is while I'm in the car driving. Because of where I'm at location wise, it takes me for the most part at least an hour to 3 hours to get anywhere. So I spend a lot of time in the car, and that means a lot of time just finding new music. Like usually it's like I'll find somebody off of like TikTok, which usually happens a lot because I get a lot of new artists or artists that I haven't heard of before. And so I'll go on their discography and I'll kind of listen through everything. And then it just kind of recommends stuff. Usually I have been an Apple Music girly, and so many people dislike that. They're like, what is wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just convenient. It was already installed on my phone years ago. So I'm going to stay there. I do use Spotify sometimes, but I don't have Spotify Premium, so I do have to listen to the ads. So that's why. But and that's a lot of hard work of years of putting playlists together where I'm like, I cannot go back and re-download everything. Um, but I feel like anytime I love wearing headphones to hear new music, because I feel like you hear a lot of things that you kind of miss, whether it's just on your phone or in the speakers. I love hearing like the little nuances within certain like guitar licks and certain like word drums, and there's certain little things that like you miss that are not super outwardly played. I don't know. So usually headphones is the way to go. My ears don't like it half the time because my tinnitus starts going a little crazy and likes to sing me a lullaby at night. And I'm like, okay, we could put this away now. But I don't know. I think TikTok is where I find a lot of new music, but headphones is where I like to listen to it.
Yeah, that's cool. And
Sorry.
when you decide, I want to sit down and listen to what's that?
Sorry, that's a long answer. I'm a yapper.
Oh no, that's great. It gave me several questions to follow up, but I don't want to go there right now. When you decide, hey, I want to listen to music, other than searching for a new artist, who are some of your go-to artists? Like just tomorrow, was it likely that you're going to listen to somebody?
It depends on the mood, but I will say I always tend to gravitate towards like Chris Stapleton. It doesn't matter what type of mood I'm in. For some reason, the way he sings, I'm like, okay, I'm zen again. Like this is super, I don't know, it hits all the right feels that like it checks all the boxes that I would want to. Like if there's any mood, I don't know. Chris Stapleton, I love a lot of 70s rock. And so I'll always kind of gravitate towards that. And then I would say also at that point, I feel like it's mood. It's just whether or not I want to be happy or sad. So, yeah.
No, Chris Stapleton, I think, is a good example because some of his songs will make you cry, and some will make you like just want to run through a wall, you know?
Exactly.
I love the questions when people say, if you could choose one album or one artist if you're stranded on an island for the rest of your life, what would it be? And Chris Stapleton's not a bad choice just because you can have your highs and lows and fun and all that all in
And I
one
don't get
artist.
sick of it for some reason. Like, there's a lot of songs where I'm like, okay, I've listened to this too much. Like, now it's going to be like the earworm where it gets stuck in my head 24/7. I'm like, I wish it wasn't. But Chris Stapleton, I never have ever felt that way. And so I'm like, it's just every time I listen to it, it's like I want to keep listening to it. So I'm like, that is always a go-to. I will never get sick of it. It's always something that also I'm listening and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize he was doing something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got the feeling part down within the music, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with this.
No, that's great. What about a career highlight of yours so far? Maybe your biggest audience or your biggest break or something, or just the funnest show.
I think the most it was actually this year, and it was an anthem that I did, and it was at the Pro Bowl in Orlando, and I think that was the moment where it was like, oh, this is real. Because before, I feel like not that I'm going through the motions, but because I've been performing since I was so young, it just feels like it's let me say this, every show is exciting, every single one, but there was a different level of like, oh, this is real. And I think it was because there was, I can't remember if it was 60,000 or 80,000 people in the stadium, And so I was like, oh, this is the anthem. Like, I can't screw this up. This is televised. I can't screw this up. And then I was already nervous, and I'd never gotten really nervous before an anthem because I feel like I've done it so many times where it's muscle memory. But this time it was like, oh, this it was hitting a little bit different. But otherwise, I would say like probably some of my favorite shows are whenever I get to play on a festival. I think because the energy is just so like everyone is there to have fun and they're listening and they want to be involved. And I think it's one of the coolest things ever. And then also I every time after a show, I go out in the crowd and I get to meet everyone, which I think is my favorite thing because I love meeting people. Like that is one of my favorite things to do. I love hearing where everyone's from and like because a lot of people have drive so far and I'm like, oh my, this dedication. And so getting just to talk to everyone and see where everyone's from and what they do and how they're liking the show and things like that, I think that's one of my favorite things about the industry.
That's that's cool. So that was the national anthem for the NFL's Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Fine.
a pretty high profile gig.
I was like, why do you guys want me? What did I do? It's like, are you guys gonna embarrass me right now? Um, there, because I look back on everybody that has played it before, and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Where do I fit? But I'll take it. But where do I fit?
Uh,
But I'm very thankful for that. Everyone was so kind, so nice, and I'm just very appreciative.
that's funny. For the past 5 years or so, my wife and I have played in the. It's a group of volunteers who play at Austin's Major League Soccer team games.
Oh,
Um, so we play drums, and they're drums and had lights, and it's a crazy experience. I highly recommend going to see soccer in Austin if you are through here. But that there's 17 home games a year. So now we've seen, I don't know, 5 times 17, almost 100 people do the national anthem in the same setting with the same acoustics, which is, it's it's very interesting to see so many different people's interpretations of that. Some are just guitar, or, it's a challenging song. I've seen people nail it and people,
yeah. Yeah.
No, that's challenging.
Like it's one of the most nerve-wracking. It's like you can't get the lyrics wrong. You can do I feel like the anthem is one of the songs. Usually I'm like, you can't do too much with the song because especially if it's your original song, who's to tell you to make the rules? But when it's the anthem, I will say I'm always one that I prefer to keep it traditional just because of the meaning behind it and like our veterans and things like that. I'm like, I want to keep it pretty simple to the point. But yeah, so I was a little nervous because I was like, what if no one likes my rendition? What if this? And I was like, why overthinking again? Why do I do it?
No, I almost feel like there's a very simple rule that you should keep it just dry and just do it unless you have something to add that you're like, no, this, unless you feel passionately about adding, like, don't just hold a note longer, or do gymnastics on this line or whatever. It doesn't serve anybody, but there are the legendary artists who've done it big. Like, oh, well, good for them.
Exactly.
Excuse me. What about this is my fourth out of five questions. A career goal. Do you have something that you're striving for?
I I will say there are two, and there are places to play.
Uh-huh.
I think my goal is to be obviously to play at the Grand Ole Opry. Like that is by far, I think that if you ask anybody in country music, like that is the ultimate goal because I feel like that's just like okay, like I made it. Um, but then I will say the other one is to play over at the Red Rocks Amphitheater because that is one of the most beautiful venues that I have ever seen, and I've yet well that I've seen online. I haven't been there in person, but I think it would just be incredible to just be in that moment on stage, have people singing back to you, and then just I mean, the view, everything around you is just so serene. So that's one thing. Those are the two places that I would love to play at.
That's funny. Red Rocks is my dream, my dream venue too. So if you're about to play there and your drummer gets sick, look me up and I'll show up.
I got you.
I'll fill in. Uh, no, that's great. And this is interesting because I mean, again, age-wise, you're youngish. but you've been playing so long, so you're kind of an industry veteran. If somebody's just sitting down with their first, they're just writing out their first lyrics or strumming their first few chords, do you have advice for how do you get going as an independent artist?
I would say don't be afraid to try something new. A lot of people, they feel they can get really comfortable. I'm one of those people. I love comfortability, but also at the same time, there is something so beautiful when you push yourself kind of outside of your limits that it can create something very magical. But then also you could try something and you could absolutely hate it. But you know what the difference is? You can go back to what you were doing before and you can move on and then continue to grow. I think that is whether it's just, I don't know, also just taking inspiration from everything around you. I think that's one of the biggest things. There's not very musicians that have grown up by or that are near me. And so I think it's really special whenever I get to go out to Tennessee or like even when I'm just in LA. But I feel like Tennessee, especially because everyone there is like every single person it feels like is in the music industry and they are all doing everything. So for me, that pushes me to grow because I'm like, oh my God, they're doing all these cool things. I want to do that too. Like, how do I do it? And so it pushes me to become a better artist. And that's one of my favorite things about it. I take a lot of inspiration from everyone around me, whether it's what they're talking about within their lives and what's going on with them, or different things that are going on, or something that someone said. And I'm like, that could be a song idea or whatever it is. It's just little things that have always happened. I feel like take inspiration from it all, take it all in, and enjoy every moment. As soon as you don't enjoy it, it's just kind of like, okay, this is a job, but you never want to feel that way.
Yeah, that's great. I've now talked to a number of artists on these interviews alone, who are from somewhere else, who go to Nashville to either have a co-writer come in or just record their demo or record their album or whatever. And it is a different beast because I think coming from anywhere else, even if you know a musician, they, they're a firefighter by day and then play music at night, or, just they do web stuff and then play music at night. And when you go, I mean, it's kind of like this in Los Angeles, but when you go to Nashville, you can be in an entire room where everyone only does music. And some of them are wildly successful and rich, and some are still just struggling. And some, it's so weird to see like the musical middle class, like, oh, you make like a normal amount of money and live in a normal house and aren't famous, but have, like, oh, I did this record and I wrote this song and that allowed me to buy a house or whatever. It's just wild to see, because when you go to local clubs, it's everybody's kind of struggling just to get there. But yeah, the bigger cities allow you a whole new perspective on what music can do, and it's really cool.
I think the point of also like everyone is not just good, everyone is great out there. Like that's what blows my mind. So I'm like this is the level that like and so it pushes you because like I don't know whether it's for me, it's like even like if I go snowboarding or something like that, I'm like, I want to go with people that are better than me because then it forces me to become better. Or it's like that have just like X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I don't know. I look at it and I'm like, you don't even realize it, but like you're motivating me in so many different ways. And I think that's really cool. It's really special. So I love it out there.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I think of all the bands I've ever been in where when you write a song, you work through the chord progression and then talk about let's have a breakdown and you arrange the song. But so many times you'll go into a Nashville studio and you'll have a bunch of musicians and they just talk for like a minute or two and then play the best version of the song you could possibly imagine with
It's magic before my eyes, and I'm like, how did you read my mind like this? And then like do everything even better than I thought I wanted. Like it's crazy.
oh, it's wild when they're doing like little hits and kicks and stops that you didn't know they were there, but they should be there.
Yep, exactly.
That's wild. Well, Presley, this has been a wonderful conversation. Again, thank you for your time. I can't wait for people to see this and learn more about you. Um, Looking forward over the next 6 months or so, are you kind of concentrating more on writing and recording, or will you be out on the road more, or kind of a mix of things?
So a little bit of both. I will be back in, I think, Vegas during NFR week. I'll be playing out there on December 4th, 12th, and 13th. I'll be over at Fontainebleau, and there's some some exciting things that are happening. So if anyone's in Vegas during NFR and they want to stop by, there's some special guests coming in, which I'm very excited for. And all those details will be up on my Instagram or my band's in town. So you can go to my website, which is presleytennant.com, and then a lot of new music. I have two singles that I'm getting ready to start loading up. And then more music on the way. But I'm very excited for those ones. Those are some of my favorite songs that I think I've ever written. And then a lot of also just shows coming up within the new year and new music, just kind of doing the thing.
Great, great. So yeah, folks watching this, PresleyTennant.com. That's Tennant with two N's. Uh, thank you again, Presley. It's been wonderful to visit with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.